Clear your desk by noon, Hayes. Victor Mercer's words hit like a physical blow. I stood frozen in the glass-walled conference room, 23 years of loyalty dismissed in a few words. But the Westridge account, I stammered, will be handled by Kyle going forward. Victor nodded toward the door, where Kyle Chen, barely 30, shifted uncomfortably in his designer suit. The quarterly sales meeting I'd prepared for weeks to lead was happening without me. My presentation slides still glowed on the screen behind Victor's smug face. Security will escort you out. Victor turned away, already moving on. Team, let's continue with our new regional strategy. Robert, the security guard who'd watched me arrive early every Monday for 2 decades, now stood at my elbow, eyes downcast. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hayes," he whispered, as colleagues stared through the glass walls, their faces a mix of shock and that particular relief that comes from watching disaster strike someone else. 23 years, 65% of company sales, gone in less time than it takes to microwave popcorn. Robert walked beside me to my office, his badge jingling with each step. The hallway stretched endlessly as employees ducked into doorways, avoiding eye contact. 30 minutes to collect personal items, he said officially, then leaned closer. "Take your time, sir." I nodded, throat tight, as I entered my corner office, soon to be someone else's corner office. The view of the city skyline I'd watched change over 2 decades seemed suddenly unfamiliar. My hands moved mechanically, placing family photos and coffee mugs into a cardboard box. When I tried accessing my computer, a message flashed, "Account deactivated." Of course, they'd already cut me off. "Mr. Hayes," Robert whispered, glancing down the hall, "you left this in the break room last week." He handed me my worn leather notebook, the one with every client contact, every relationship note from 23 years, the one I wasn't supposed to take. "Thanks," I managed, slipping it into my box. I walked out with my head high, past marketing, where I'd met my now ex-wife, past sales, where I'd trained dozens of now successful managers, past the lobby, where my top sales achievements still hung on the wall. At home, I placed the sad box on my kitchen table and stared at it. My phone remained silent. No calls from colleagues, no explanation. But I wasn't as defeated as I seemed. I walked to my home office, unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk, and pulled out a portable hard drive. For the past year, I'd been keeping my own records. Not company secrets, just documentation of my work, my contributions, my client relationships. I hadn't known why I felt compelled to do this until today. I joined Precision Solutions in 1999 when we sold just one product line and had 27 employees. My desk was a door laid across 2 filing cabinets. The founder, Jim Burke, hired me despite my lack of college degree because I understood people. "Sales isn't about products, Austin," Jim had said, "it's about trust." Within 5 years, I'd built our client base from regional to national. By year 10, I was managing our biggest accounts and training new salespeople in what became known as the Hayes method, focusing on client problems rather than our products. "Austin doesn't sell," our CFO once joked at the holiday party. "He just solves problems, and somehow money appears." My divorce hit hard when Sandra left for her yoga instructor. Work became everything. My clients weren't just accounts, they were relationships, people who trusted me. Like Eleanor Reeves, who signed our first $1 million contract after I spent 6 months helping her navigate a complex system upgrade at no extra charge. Or Marcus Chen, whose company I kept as a client through 3 ownership changes because I remembered his children's names and his preference for afternoon meetings due to his diabetes medication schedule. Then, 18 months ago, Jim retired. The board hired Victor Mercer, MBA from Wharton, sleek presentation style, promises of aggressive growth strategies, and modernization. The changes started small. My weekly status meetings with Jim became monthly emails to Victor's assistant. My sales territories were adjusted for efficiency. My training program was updated with Victor's name on the materials. Still, I kept exceeding targets. Last quarter, my client portfolio represented 65% of company revenue, but each success seemed to irritate Victor more. 2 months ago, I overheard him in the bathroom. "Hayes is a dinosaur. Clients stay with him out of habit. Once we update our approach, we'll see what real sales numbers look like." I should have seen what was coming when they hired Kyle, with his algorithms and sales automation software. When my office moved from beside the CEO to the end of the hall. When my name disappeared from the leadership page on our website. Yesterday, I'd submitted our best quarterly numbers ever. The strangest part, I'd just secured renewal commitments from our 5 largest clients, all signed last week. The timing felt deliberate, like they'd waited until I'd locked in the accounts before showing me the door. As I reviewed my personal files that night, an email notification appeared. Marcus Wong, my former assistant, using his personal Gmail account. "Austin, you need to see this. Victor's planning to take credit for your client retention strategy at tomorrow's board meeting. The whole sales drop from last summer that you fixed. He's presenting it as his turnaround story." Attached was an internal presentation with my work, my numbers, my relationships, all repackaged as the Mercer method. And suddenly, everything made horrible sense. I barely slept. By morning, I was fueled by coffee, and that unique clarity that comes when the fog of confusion lifts. A text message from Rita in accounting, sent at 5:47 a.m. "Just heard about yesterday. Not right. You should know they've been separating your client revenue into legacy accounts and reporting them differently to the board for months." This was followed by another. "Check your personal email." The forwarded spreadsheets confirmed what I'd suspected. My accounts were being systematically recategorized. On paper, it looked like my performance was declining, while other departments, mainly those staffed by Victor's former colleagues from Apex Industries, were growing. Meanwhile, the presentation to clients still showed total growth, taking credit for the relationships I'd built. But that wasn't all. At 7:35 a.m., another email arrived from Denise, a paralegal in legal who'd always been friendly. "Austin, you should see this. They had me prepare this separation agreement 3 months ago, but told me to hold it. Notice the date was left blank to be filled in later." The termination wasn't about performance. It wasn't even about Victor's ego. It was strategic. The final piece clicked when my former buddy in sales operations called. "Austin," Jeff's voice was hushed. "There's a company-wide meeting tomorrow. Rumor is Victor's announcing a merger with Capital Tech. The deal's been in the works for months." Capital Tech. The connection hit me like a truck. Their CEO had tried to poach me twice over the years. The kicker, the retention bonuses for executives are massive, but the deal includes streamlining redundant positions. Most of the old-timers will be gone within 6 months. I pulled up Capital Tech's website. There it was. Kyle Chen had worked there for 4 years before joining us. He wasn't my replacement. He was their advanced scout. Victor hadn't just fired me. He'd eliminated me so he could sell my client relationships I'd built over decades, as stable assets in a company valuation. My termination was timed perfectly, right after I'd renewed our biggest contracts, right before the merger announcement. I'd been erased from the narrative, my legacy stolen, my team about to be dismantled, and 23 years of client trust leveraged for a deal that would enrich executives while discarding the people who built the company. The question was, what was I going to do about it? I'm not a vengeful person. Sandra used to say that was my problem. I let people walk all over me, but this wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. First, I needed to understand my legal position. I called Patricia Winters, an employment attorney I'd met through a client. "They're within their rights to terminate you," she confirmed after reviewing my situation, "but the misrepresentation to the board about your sales contributions and the potential merger materially affects shareholder value. That's murkier territory. I don't want to sue them, Patricia. I just want to set the record straight. Then document everything. Stick to facts. And whatever you do, don't disparage the company to clients." Next, I organized my records. 23 years of client interactions, sales strategies, and performance metrics, all backed up on my personal drive. I created a timeline showing how my territories had been reassigned and recategorized over the past year. The story told by data was undeniable. Systematic erasure of my contributions while maintaining the relationships and revenue I'd built. I constructed a detailed portfolio website documenting my career achievements with verifiable metrics, not for public viewing, just as a reference point. By midnight, I had prepared 3 documents. 1. A factual summary of my contributions to Precision Solutions over 23 years. 2. A comparison between reported figures to the board and actual performance metrics. 3. A client relationship map showing the network I'd built. Then came the most delicate part: client communication. I drafted and redrafted an email to my key clients. It needed to be perfectly balanced, professional, not bitter, informative, not accusatory. After the 12th revision, I had it. Copy. Subject: personal update from Austin Hayes. After 23 wonderful years, my position at Precision Solutions ended yesterday. I wanted to personally thank you for the relationship we've built and the trust you've placed in me. While I'm exploring new opportunities, please know how much I've valued our professional connection. Your account will be managed by the Precision Solutions team going forward, and I wish both you and the company continued success. If you'd like to stay in personal contact, my private email is, and my cell remains the same. With gratitude, Austin Hayes. No accusations, no bitterness, just facts and an open door. I reviewed everything one final time, checking for any statement that could be construed as disparaging or untruthful. Then, at 6:00 a.m., when I knew most clients checked their email before the workday, I hit send to my distribution list of 47 key contacts representing over $140 million in annual revenue. I closed my laptop, made coffee, and waited. The quiet before the storm lasted exactly 23 minutes. My phone rang at 6:23 a.m. Eleanor Reeves, CEO of Westridge Systems, and our largest client for 15 years. Austin. What the hell? I just finalized our 3-year renewal last week. No one mentioned you were leaving. I chose my words carefully. It was a sudden organizational change, Eleanor. Bullshit. We've known each other too long. Your team helped us survive the 2008 crash when everyone else abandoned ship. Did you quit? No, Eleanor. I didn't. Her silence spoke volumes. I see, she finally said. Well, I'll be making some calls this morning. My phone beeped with another call. Then, another. By 7:30 a.m., I'd received messages from 12 major clients. None were happy. All wanted explanations. I maintained the same professional tone with each. I'm grateful for our relationship. Precision Solutions still offers excellent products. This was a company decision that I respect. What I didn't say mattered more than what I did. At 8:17 a.m., Marcus Wong texted, "Office is chaos. Victor's EA just cancelled his morning meetings. 5 major clients called demanding explanations." At 8:45 a.m., Eleanor Reeves is on the phone threatening to review their contract. Victor's face is purple. At 9:22 a.m., emergency exec meeting called. Kyle tried presenting to the Westridge team, and they walked out when he couldn't answer basic questions about their integration schedule. Then, most surprisingly, at 10:06 a.m., Sarah Livingston, from the board, just asked for your contact information. She seems pissed.
Sarah Livingston.
The board chairperson who had approved my termination. My phone rang at 10:30 a.m. Unknown number. Austin Hayes, speaking. Mr. Hayes, this is Sarah Livingston. I believe we need to have a conversation about your departure from Precision Solutions. The board was informed your client relationships were transactional and easily transferable, Sarah said, her voice tight. We were told you were retiring. Imagine my surprise when Eleanor Reeves called me personally this morning, asking why we'd fired the only person at Precision who understood their business. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. I brought my laptop and documentation. I'm not here to criticize the company, Miss Livingston. I built my career there. I just want to ensure the record is accurate. For the next hour, I walked her through the evidence, the actual sales figures versus what was reported to the board, the recategorization of my accounts, the prepared termination agreement dated months before my firing. And you believe this connects to the Capital Tech merger? She asked, eyes narrowing. I can only present facts. The interpretation is yours. Sarah's phone had been buzzing constantly. Now she checked it, her expression darkening. 17 client escalations since morning. Our stock is down 3% on rumors of client instability. She looked up sharply. Did you tell clients about the merger possibility? Absolutely not. I've said nothing negative about Precision Solutions to anyone. Then why are they all calling? Because after 23 years, I built relationships, not transactions. I knew which person at each client handled budget approvals. I remembered when their systems needed maintenance. I kept notes on their business cycles. I opened my leather notebook, like how Eleanor's board requires 6 weeks for major purchase approvals, or how Westridge's fiscal year ends in April, not December, or how Chen International never makes decisions on Mondays due to their parent company's schedule in Singapore. Understanding dawned in Sarah's eyes. They're not angry you're gone. They're discovering all the things they didn't know that you managed behind the scenes. Success leaves clues, Miss Livingston. Sometimes those clues only become visible in absence. The emergency board meeting was called for 4 p.m. Sarah asked me to be available by phone. By 5:30 p.m., my sources inside painted the picture: Victor struggling to explain the client exodus, Kyle failing to answer basic questions about account histories, the Capital Tech representatives growing increasingly concerned about asset stability. Sarah called at 7:12 p.m. The merger is on hold. Victor has been placed on administrative leave, pending review. The preliminary findings suggest significant misrepresentation to the board regarding company operations and performance attribution. She paused. We'd like you to come in tomorrow to discuss your role going forward. The next morning, I walked back through the same doors I'd exited in humiliation just 48 hours earlier. Robert, the security guard, smiled broadly. Welcome back, Mr. Hayes. They're waiting for you in the boardroom. The board's offer was straightforward. Return as Executive Vice President of Client Relations with oversight of the sales organization, reporting directly to the board until a new CEO was selected. We need you to stabilize our client relationships, Sarah explained. And we need your insight into the organization Victor was building. I had one condition. The people who helped me, who shared information at personal risk, need protection. By week's end, Victor and 3 of his executive team were gone. The merger was indefinitely postponed, and a company-wide meeting was called where Sarah publicly acknowledged what had happened and outlined the path forward. The client calls shifted from concern to relief. Eleanor Reeves sent me a single text. Justice looks good on you, Austin. But it wasn't about justice. It was about truth and relationships and the power of simply keeping good records. 6 months have passed. I declined the CEO position when it was offered, suggesting instead we promote from within. Marcus Wong now leads our expanded client success team, implementing systems to ensure no single person holds all relationship knowledge. I accepted a board seat instead, focusing on company culture and ethics. The client retention rate has returned to 97%, and we're actually growing faster without the distraction of a forced merger. Victor landed at another company. I wish him well, genuinely. His approach worked at places that valued flash over substance. Precision Solutions simply wasn't one of those places. What still amazes me is how little I had to actually do. I never accused Victor publicly. I never disparaged the company. I simply presented facts and allowed people to draw their own conclusions. The truth has a momentum all its own once released into the world. Yesterday, I cleaned out my old client notebook, transferring the key information into our new shared database. 23 years of coffee-stained pages, scribbled notes from calls, and relationship details that had lived only in my head. Looking back, I realize my greatest professional mistake wasn't being too loyal or conflict-averse. It was believing my value was so obvious it didn't need documentation or protection. In today's world, doing good work silently isn't enough. The work must be visible, traceable, and attributable. Not for ego or advancement, but because truth matters, contributions matter, relationships matter. I still have the cardboard box from that day, my family photos and coffee mugs that were meant to be the final artifacts of a career erased. Now they're back on my desk, alongside something new, a simple plaque given to me by the team, engraved with just 3 words. Relationships leave footprints. They certainly do. And sometimes, those footprints lead right back home. That's the end of the story. Have you ever experienced or witnessed a situation where someone's true value was only recognized after they were gone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more stories like this one, go ahead and hit subscribe. Check out our next video that you might enjoy.